Hey everybody, this is Bart Sharp, and you are on Becoming Quantum Conscious at United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 107.7 and 105.3 out of the beautiful city of New Orleans, Louisiana. Uh, Broadcasting on Roku, cable television, X, Facebook, YouTube. I don't know what it is about X. Every time I say it, I just go X, like, no political affiliation. It's just X that just gets me. Also, you can find us on the UPRN website where you can get all the UPRN radio shows recorded and live as well. And I am still in France for a couple of more weeks. And just to give everybody a warning that the internet connection is a little bit questionable tonight. Is just like a few minutes ago, it was 80-mile-an-hour winds out there. Something blew in, something blew out, and it's always very strange out there with that. I was just thinking about the French. Of course, what they do is they bundle up the shutters and lock everything away, and probably we in America would probably be out on our bicycles, seeing if we could break the world speed record flying with the wind or something, or flying a kite or paragliding or something like that. Just two different cultures. They think I'm a little crazy. I can't imagine why. So I'm going to bring on our host today, Neil Ryan Dumra. Hi, Neil.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's always a pleasure. Neil is always a steady guest and friend and amazing creator of magnitude of, you never know what this guy is going to be creating out there in the world. He's just one of those curious types, if you know what I mean. And now you've written a book.
That's right. Yes.
And
yeah.
Let's see. Great title. I love this title. Cacao will show you how. Heart turned on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What? Can you explain why you got that title? What's that about?
So for me, when I started drinking cacao, I started to realize on a physical level that the energy would actually come into my heart space. And instead of when I would drink coffee or my chai or things like that, I would be very stimulated in the head space. I could literally feel my heart turn on. And it was from that energetic connection that I started to realize, okay, cacao will show me how to integrate, to feel, to operate from this new perspective. So when we talk about feminine energy, we talk about the receiver, we talk about all of these different loving thoughts and feelings. It was when I started to actually activate that octane into my heart space with the cacao that all of a sudden coherence started to become a very almost graceful experience. I didn't have to meditate my way to it. It just became naturally graceful to become more connected that way. So that's basically how I see it.
Well, vibration follows vibration.
Yeah.
And cacao is a very unique vibration. And we gravitate to that. And then other things start to gravitate to you because you've been doing the cacao business at the Third Eye Lounge for 10 years. Am I getting that about right?
I had a brick and mortar starting in 2018, but I started working with cacao for about 10 years. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it has changed your life.
Yeah. It's also something that's continuously changing my life. It's almost when I think about the ritual and how it changes how I wake up every morning, and how it starts the way I feel to become more acclimated to nature and drawn more to want to be less connected in these computer type ways, which I love. I love having this ability, but more so just in day-to-day life, kind of like how community was when
Mm,
civilization started. And I think it's so important now more than ever that we connect with people from a heart space, rather than the way people continuously have relationships. And I love this thing. We've talked about this before. Ships just pass, and then
yep.
shapes that create pillars. And that's what community needs the most, is these pillars, is these relationships that create bonds and trust and a sort of sense of safety, but also a place where you can grow yourself and contribute. So I think people have different focuses when it comes to community building, which I kind of love too. It's like if you don't have that as a part of your structure, um, you don't necessarily have a vision. And what I love about Casa de Luz and Third Eye Cacao and all the different businesses that have come through is we're all working together to create a sort of an energetic force field for people to evolve, to do that
Yeah.
integration work, to be able to feel a difference within themselves internally and also externally. It's like
It
a
all
Shangri-La.
it all starts in a vibration.
Right,
And so
exactly.
in everybody having a similar type of vibration, which cacao is one of those centers that we all have in common because
Yeah,
it
and it's a beautiful thing that now in the world is becoming now the importance of where it comes from, the heavy metals, all these different aspects, the genetics, how it's processed. All these things are becoming more important. It wasn't something that people cared about, in the 70s or 60s, and when chocolate was being exposed and kind of exploited in the world. So just like coffee, just like a lot of things are made in the masses, and when that's happening, um, it can jeopardize how it's created because it's not natural.
can you
They're
com-
good.
can you compare what a cacao bean is for a industrialized chocolate bar compared to a cacao bean that you get and promote?
Right. So the cacao beans that are made industrially are huge, and a lot of times, full of all sorts of things. They're genetically modified and actually promote you to become obese if you consume it. It's always mixed with sugars and all sorts of things too. But basically, the genetics of it is not from the natural genetics of where it came from. So all the medicinal benefits are stripped from it as well. And then the way they process it is with these metal balls, which it's this whole thing. It's an industry. That's why it's called alkalized, um, and it's really not something you'd want to be consuming on a daily basis. It's not healthy. So it's a doctored version of cacao, and what we're promoting is actually a very natural process. It's permaculturally grown rather than agriculturally grown, and it doesn't suck the water from the earth because it's grown with other things that also create water too. So it's a very so cacao. The reason why it has heavy metals is because it's coming from the ground. It's a plant that requires a lot of nutrients, and that's why rainforest cacao is so much different than agriculturally grown cacao from Africa, which, by the way, there was an 80% shortage of this last year.
Wow. You know, you described these forests to me, and I thought it was really interesting. Um, Literally, the cacao, and this is what you would call ceremonial cacao. Uh, and that label isn't like tightly guarded. You've got to kind of, if you're looking at a ceremonial cacao, you might want to muscle test or do something intuitively to understand the quality that you're getting with a ceremonial cacao. But the cacao you get, literally, the jungle is intertwined with the cacao plants itself. is
Yeah,
what I understood.
that, and it's also protected the actual genetics, and it's far protected from civilization in some ways too. So
Mm,
it's more importantly, you don't want just cacao that's farmed by beautiful people. Obviously, we want beautiful people, but we also want the land to be very separate from where industrialization has happened, and that is super important as well when looking at these type of things.
yeah, it's something to the consciousness that the cacao community does promote is a fairness in a system, at all levels that is out there. Your staff are happy, they get paid well. There's there's fairness, but also it sounds like there's fairness in those farms there. I wanted to tell a story because Neil, next time you go back, I definitely want one of these beans because one of the fun things I do as a shamanistic psychic type of dude is I will hold a plant or I'll hold a crystal or I'll hold something like that and ask to go to the source or where it came from. And I get an impression of what that reality is. And it helps me understand that plant, but it also activates the plant itself and activates me. It's a win-win-win situation. So when I got into the cacao plant, it was, some plants are more almost like leaders of a jungle or a garden setting. They have more higher vibration. They may be a tree that's a deva tree that's the leader of all the trees, or a plant like ayahuasca or the mushrooms that provide a lot more consciousness than some other plants, although all of them all had their part. But the cacao plant um, almost was like like it was taken in moonlight. It was something that other fairy beings relished and blessed because fairies do bless the plants and they're all over the world. So it had that type of atmosphere. And I just found that like, wow, no wonder it's such a heart activator. It was just an amazing experience for me. Um, wouldn't you agree? I think we got a cut off there. So I'll assume that Neil said, yes, I agree. You're back. Are you still there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Okay, so we are. Yeah, 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 yeah. I was just telling them the fairy story about the cacao. And I do see that I'm coming on and off right now. And we're just going to have to be patient with all of this. We will not lose the connection because we're going through the StreamYard program. But we may have some temporary disconnects. So if I disconnect, Neil, you can keep talking. And if you disconnect, I'll continue to talk about some of these miracle things. Are you back? Are you back?
Yes, I'm. Can you hear me?
Yep, yep. Yeah, Neil, it's probably my system and not your system. Just
No, it's
FYI.
actually microphone died. But either way, so what I was saying is, yes, you're 100% right. There is just like what we talk about when we talk about the unseen, unsaid. The fairy and the energy of the cacao is almost subtle, but at the same time so palpable, and it ignites these parts of us that we sometimes lay dormant in our heart space.
Hmm.
And it's unfortunate because when we think about love, when we think about our heart and how it breaks sometimes, it gets mended in so many different ways that it doesn't necessarily allow us to fully open it. So I think about this in a really funny way, the intricacy of the fascia, the intricacy of the heart space, and why cacao has this beautiful um, medicinal aspect to it. And it has to be the ceremonial cacao because it has to have the stearic acid and those heart healthy fats that actually allow the heart to start
feeling again.
And also the cacao butter, the
Yeah,
butter that comes from the
that's
cacao
what we're
bean
talking.
itself.
It's exactly what I'm talking about. Is that so? What happens is it also has the joyful feel good polyphenols. So as it's doing that, it's also releasing oxytocin. So it's healing the nerves. It's literally why it's doubling your stem cells is because it's literally creating new pathways in your body and your nerves to start to feel again. So we talk
Mm,
about chi and your hands directly connected from your heart. The blood starts to flow better, and people don't know this. People who know me may know this, but I wasn't very good at sports. I loved them. I loved tennis. I loved pickleball. I loved all these things, but I wasn't necessarily very good. I wasn't a winner. I wasn't a champion. And it's honestly, it was due to something I realized now. It was me being able to really feel both sides of my body and to really ignite certain parts of myself. The blood flow was lacking. And it was through finding more blood flow that I started to feel more, started to see more, started to slow down and actually feel and play the game without my head as much from more of a coherent space. And that's kind of like what I talk about. All this stuff has to do with like how we hold our body, how we hold our head,
mm,
how much flexibility we have, but also structure. We need
yeah.
muscles, of course, but we also need to be able to move in a way that if we fall, we don't break.
Mm, mm. You know, what comes up for me when you say that, it's the difference between the parasympathetic nervous system and the sympathetic nervous system. People who may be disconnected from their heart more may be highly in their sympathetic nervous system. It's that doing and pushing and stuff. Whereas the parasympathetic, you know, we say that, well, that's the meditation nervous system, that's the sleep nervous system, but it also is the child's nervous system. And those who are on the spiritual journey return to that parasympathetic and become more aware and more conscious in different ways. The applications begin to open because the parasympathetic integrates things that we have lost due to the domination of the sympathetic that our culture promotes. Does that kind of square in with you think Cacao's thing?
100%. It literally changes your nervous system and it can help you reset it. And it's with intention, right? And you can obviously utilize this to integrate, but it's with the intention and the activities and also how you take the medicine in. If you start going straight to work after you drink your cacao, it may not have the same effect, you know, depending on what you
Mm,
do for a living.
yeah, that would probably be better than drinking coffee because
Yeah,
you're
totally. And,
basically
and that,
turning on your adrenal systems, whereas cacao does it differently.
yep, for sure. For sure. Um,
Yeah.
One of the things that I've
Eh,
I've been that's been coming up a lot is ADD, ADHD.
Hmm.
So
Do
ADD,
tell.
ADHD is something that in our lounge and in our business, a lot of people selling coffee, um, and just people in general are having suffering this attention deficit disorder or attention. It's almost like anxiousness too. Um, a lot of people are taking Adderall. A lot of people are hyper over either overwhelmed or underwhelmed. It's just like this pattern. Um, and so I always talk about in my last episode we talked about vagal toned, and it's really what that I feel like is so important. Yeah.
So explain vagal tone while we're in there because it really does integrate with what you're talking about with the cacao thing.
Yeah, so basically the vagal tone thing is our vagus nerve, and there's different ways of activating it and also becoming more vagal toned. Co-regulation is one of those major things. Dancing is super important. Um, Massage is great. And if you can learn how to activate your mula bandha, which is like tantra, that creates a massive effect on being more grounded. So when you become more grounded, you're more seeing things from the inside out rather than the outside in.
Yeah. Now, the mula bandha is a big $20 word. Can you explain what that is
Yes.
exactly?
So the mula bandha is basically it's in our perineum, and it's our muscles that basically in our root chakra that control when we go to the bathroom, when we orgasm. So both urinating and having a bowel movement. And once we become, there's ways we can become more activated in that space, but also have more control. And just like we do breath work, we do these different energy locks that allow that muscle to become stronger. So we talk about Kundalini energy, the Kundalini energy that lays dormant in our sacrum. It also gets activated through that process of utilizing this energy. And can you hold on for 1 second? Sorry, I gotta just shut the door. 1 second.
Well, I am going to tell everybody that you are on United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network on 107.7 and 105.3, broadcasting out of the beautiful city of New Orleans, Louisiana. And we're also on Roku, X, Facebook, YouTube, UPRN website, and Spreaker and other internet connections. And our man is back, Neil Ryan Dumra.
So sorry about that.
No, it's no big deal. I had to do this anyway. Author of, oh gosh, I'm having a brain fart. What's the title of your book, Neil?
Cacao will show you how.
Heart Turned On.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I want to go back into the mula bandha stuff because this is
great.
It's amazing work. And I say anytime anybody is feeling out of body or basically anxious, this is an activity you can do. It gets you straight into your body. And all the other things that you can do outside of that, yoga, meditation, breath work, all these beautiful activities, it's like when you start to do this work, it helps you align both your masculine and feminine energies. And that is why we do this work. Third eye helps you see from unity consciousness. And when you're in unity consciousness more often, you are living from a different purpose. So the mystics, all the legends talk about the same thing. It's like chop the wood, carry the water. Okay. And the cacao is a way to start your day, to become more coherent, to activate your heart. All these other beneficial things, they basically allow your body to acclimate to your age in a way that is in line. You're not doing anything to so, and it's so funny, you're in France right now, okay? A person who lived 128 years old from France, she drank two I don't know if she drank or ate, but 2.5 pounds of cacao a week. Did you know that?
Wow. That's a lot of cacao.
And I thought that too.
A pound of cacao. A pound of cacao will last me 6 weeks.
Right. So you're not drinking enough.
Clearly so.
No,
so I interrupted you.
Yeah, so it's so funny. I was surprised and shocked to hear this. And over the years I was like, am I gonna stop drinking this? Is this gonna be bad if I continue to drink this? And I'm realizing no, it's a great thing. And I'm here for the medicine that it is. Because it continuously shows me more. And that's the light of it,
Yeah, I haven't had any ill effects. The one thing that I do notice that you haven't talked about is when you have cacao in your morning, you have a lot less appetite. This is a natural food that you can drink that is a if you're overeating, or you're, let's just say that you're eating for stimulation. If you're connected with your heart, your body slows down, your parasympathetic turns on, your nervous system feels more integrated, so you're less impulsed to eat food to nurture something that's emotionally imbalanced. And that's what a lot of people do. They eat because they feel imbalanced. They need something to steady them, but they can't really explain why they give it because they're doing it so long. Cacao kind of breaks that chain.
I love it. I love it. It's the nuance. It's like you have your inner child, you have your adult, you have your options as an adult. Sometimes we feed that inner child more often than we need to.
Mm.
And sometimes the adult is making the right decisions so that the inner child can stay alive forever, right? And so there's always this balance that we create. And the nuance is cacao feeds both.
It does.
And actually, it really helps bond the two. It really helps create resonance and alignment with what you want in life, and being able to notice it with your intuition, because that's what coherence brings you, is more connection to what you want. What you want is what the universe is always conspiring for when you're connected to all of yourself.
Yes.
It's only when you are agitated, when you are in lower vibrations, that you get distracted and all of the distortions show up.
Yes.
And as soon as you start coming back into alignment, then you start to see the gratitude in life that's always there too. It's all a lens.
And such a big thing right now with coherence, and we can easily be struck off balance with our emotions, and we start to see mistruths out in the world, because let's admit it, there are a lot of mistruths out in the world. It's one of the biggest struggles that the world has right now, is what's actually true.
Yeah,
What
it's
and
100%. It's 100% a dualistic game,
it
and
is, and I just think that cacao and heart balances allows you to see it with coherence. You see it with groundedness. You see it with more clarity, and you may see it more like out of the truth of what it is. You may see the bullshit differently. It changes perception.
and it's also joyful. It's like a joyful process with cacao. Um, it's a rebirthing every day.
Mm.
Love to see every day with new hopes and new dreams. And if we continue to have that
Yeah.
kind of vibration, life is a vacation. We're never creating assets of anxiety or pockets of depression, because we're living from the space of a lens that allows that stuff to dismantle every day. We don't allow it to live. We don't give it power.
Yeah. Yeah. And so let's just think about, this is kind of a recipe, and you can make cacao cookies and various other things and brownies and all of that good stuff with it. But with your drink, what do you like to put in your cacao drink? Because I mean, I've been around Neil and had some of his drinks, and some of them are just whoppingly powerful, really good. I remember the day you gave me your test sample of matcha, which made me feel like 10 times more alert than I usually am. And I was just like, wow, Neil, I think I got to go home and write a book right now. I'll see you later. It was kind of like that, but it wasn't like a drug influence. It was like hyper focused to the nth degree. And I'm going, wow. So this guy is quite an inventor. Um, what do you put in your cacao? Let's trade cacao stories, because I'll show you mine if you show me yours.
Yeah, for sure. So I love to put, nowadays, I love to put sometimes colostrum. If I'm doing pure cacao, which I have this new recipe with the Venezuelan, Third Eye Cacao offers Venezuelan cacao. We only offer about 1,000 pounds, maybe 1,500 pounds a year. It's a very selective, small cacao farm. But anyways, this particular farm. I take that. I take some ghee, some colostrum, a little bit of shilajit, and maple cream or maple syrup, and it's fabulous. It's a really beautiful mixture, and it does invoke a beautiful bowel movement. But I'm satiated for like 6 hours, and
Wow.
it has very little caffeine, lots of theobromine, lots of that heart fat. So I'm kind of feeling this romantic, creative energy for about 4 or 5 hours. Yeah.
Wow. That sounds sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll tell you mine because Neil has really helped me tremendously. One of the things you mentioned is Sylogy. About 3 years ago in France, I had diverticulitis. Went to the hospital for 6 days, close to death. Had great conversations with angels on the other side, and was really on that edge. I was that close. Then I slowly recovered in France, but I really hadn't recovered. And people tell me, well, you never really get over diverticulitis. It's always be with you. I've heard these stories time and again. Neil says, you need to take Sylogy. And started taking Sylogy with my cacao, which I have Sylogy, cacao, limitless mushrooms, Stephen Huntsman invention, cacao butter, and honey. That's what I have. It's a little bit different, but can you explain Sylogy to everybody? Because I just think that this is an amazing product that people need to know about.
Shilajit is it's basically humic and fulvic acids that is formed over thousands of years, and it comes from the mountains, Himalayas, and it's like this tar like resin. It's a substance that's full of minerals, over 100 plus trace minerals, and these minerals have a different way of absorbing to the body. So they actually target the sacrum and give the body a lot of our own, activating our own natural life force energy. So great for blood flow, great for sexual energy, great for activating the legs, actually, simultaneously connecting the upper dantian and the lower dantian, just the energetic field of our body, and blood flow, of course. And but the material itself, if you want to know, is life. It's a lot of like when life goes into the ground and it cycles through our earth and then it goes through the atmosphere. It actually can create a beautiful like dark substance that is full of nutrition for the humans to consume, and it comes through the mountains of the Himalayas. And Ayurvedic principles have believed it to be like one of the superfoods for thousands of years as well. And now it's become popular, but I've been selling it for 10 years. I love Shilajit. I've been taking it for 10 years. And it is a beautiful medicine. I put it in my theobromine.
It really is.
And it's great stuff. Yeah.
And you just need a little bit. And to me, I've always had a lot of bowel problems, with holding a lot of nervous tension in there, irritable bowel movement. All of that's gone, and Sylogy was a game changer.
100% Shilajit. Yes, it's amazing.
Yeah. So, if the world had better bowel movements, what would happen?
I think a lot would happen. Actually, I think we could actually use our bowel, our feces for soil instead of whatever else is happening with it. Creating methane and stuff. But yeah, I think that a lot of things, our food, our system is why I source cacao, in such a way, or even source everything that I do, from saffron to mushrooms to shilajit, all the things. Sourcing is so important because we're in a time and place where that hasn't been important to some of the people who create some of the laws and the ways in which our our humanity can flourish. And
Mhm.
we're in a place now where we need to take that into our own hands as much as possible, and protect the people who have been caring about it as much as possible. So there's
Yeah.
layers to this, and you know, it's also beautiful because there's a lot of people who are starting to become in power who realize the importance of our food and the importance of these things. So I don't see it as a dualistic matter. It's more so now we got to get more organized and get more aware and create more awareness around what is good for us, and create more of it for others to consume, and create it sustainably. So
And I think cacao is just a great place to start because if you start to have a cacao instead of a coffee in the morning, you settle your body in. You're not in this, like, I got to fill my stomach up like I'm filling up a gasoline tank type of attitude. You're putting in something so pure that you actually need a lot less food. And of course, most of us, and at least in Austin, that are big cacao drinkers, are all pretty skinny, or not
it's so funny you said that, Bart.
healthy skinny. I mean, we're like strong skinny.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
funny you said that. My dad, who's been living with me for the last few months, has lost 20 some pounds. He
wow.
quit drinking coffee. He's 71 years old and has had this weight for a bit, but lost it very easily. But he has been taking classes and meditating and going for walks with our dog here. But at the same time, it's been very graceful in this process of
Mm,
him just doing his thing and simultaneously just changing his octane to cacao. He's been less anxious, more active, and yeah, and I think that's true. You say, when people start to become more coherent, you become more intuitive, and you start to talk to your body in a way where it's not an anxious response to a feeling, rather than getting to feel your feeling rather than just to cover your feeling, which a lot of times
yeah,
are, it may have a feeling of hunger, but a lot of times it's not that, and we can
yeah,
confuse it as that. And so
yeah,
I think it's so important that we get into that dialogue with ourselves. How often are we masking our feelings with food, or with candy, or with chocolates, or even chocolates that are full of sugar? All these things, they don't have an intention. It's a disassociative. And so I really like to see.
and and
Go ahead.
and I wanted to throw something out about sugar, uh,
Yeah.
because I think you're doing great with this, but I I like in the United States I eat very little sugar because it has so many toxins in it. In France, that's another story. You can have sugar and it doesn't have the same effect. However, I started taking Green Vibrance. This was about 12, 13 years ago. Great product. It has a lot of probiotics, which cacao also has tons of probiotics. My desire to eat sugar almost immediately subsided. And I know for a lot of people thinking, oh, I want to quit sugar, but it's so overwhelming. You've got a big friend when you got these probiotics and other products coming into your body, which are really easy to take. It's not a big stress, it's not a big preparation you got to do.
100%. 100%. I think
Ha-
oftentimes sugar is a response to a part of ourselves that needs nurturing, and there's different ways we can nurture it. And I think that's the lens we get to carry when we start becoming more intuitive. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Because when it starts to open this body consciousness up because your body relaxes
Yeah.
with all of this stuff. So this is Neil Ryan Dumra, author of Cacao Will Show You How. And you can go to his website, Neil Ryan Dumra, or you can go to Third Eye
Wow.
Cacao. Both will get you there to his book and also to his products, and a lot of articles and information that will educate you more. I think you kind of need to know the system and what's going on. And in Austin, I'm seeing a microcosm of this. Of course, Austin, this little liberal town or bigger liberal town in a state that's not so liberal. But yet this community is flourishing, and we're probably
Yeah.
seeing communities all over the world flourishing.
Yeah.
Because
And the
they're
reason
eating stuff.
I am not focusing on creating more places in Austin is because I really want to create more spaces around the world like this, and not me doing it. More so, people igniting the communities and spaces with the cacao, with the activities, with the coherence. I think that's the important thing here now more than ever. We've created a beautiful space inside of Casa de Luz, and people are loving the cacao and loving the classes. If you are in Austin and happen to be here, Third Eye Lounge, Third Eye Meditation Lounge, hosts over 150 classes, events. Bart, when he's in town, is a
I'm on it.
yeah,
When I'm in Austin, Texas, I
yeah.
am at Third Eye Lounge teaching classes, becoming quantum conscious, of course.
Yep. And so it's a space where it's not a regular yoga studio. It's not a typical, very systematic in the same way. It's more so it creates nuance, and it's important that we have nuance because that is art. And I truly believe that art will save us, especially in this age of AI, where things are created instantaneously. The human touch is so important.
Mm. It is, and I think Neil's popped out, but here he is back again.
I don't know where I last left off, but I was saying
You were saying that human touch is so important.
the importance of human touch, especially in this AI age, is that's how we get into the quantum. That is the how we get into the quantum is when we are beyond survival. When we're into thrival, when we're into abundance, we get to see the art without the worry of surviving.
Because our body is calmed down, our nervous system feels safe, and this is what cacao and some of these other products do is help with that. But then the emotional work and doing other things facilitate that even deeper. It's always amazing to me because I'm one of the older people in the community, and watching people in their 20s and 30s and 40s, etc., all doing it at all of these different levels. But we all had that common bond that we want to create a different type of consciousness and have a good time. And
100%. It's such a beautiful.
yeah,
I love. Everybody has different baskets to fill, and everyone's
yeah,
on their own journey, and not one person's trauma or experience or past is better or worse or on a scale of more or less than anyone else's. It's
yeah.
all relative to how one experiences themselves and others, and that's the beauty of consciousness.
It really is. It's we call it allowance of
Yeah.
other people, and what comes into that is listening
Mhm.
and receiving, safety, and fun.
Yeah.
Those are like common things that are happening. And we're talking about this community, but there's communities like this, all over the world where this is happening. And, cacao is one of those products that seem to pull people together. It's a good drink.
Yeah.
How many cultures get pulled together by good drink and food?
Hmm.
You
I don't know.
know?
Yeah. I think a lot of them, all of them.
Yeah, I think, yeah, exactly. I'm just living in France. I see that all the time. It's a totally different reality, but yet cacao is happening here. We have a lady that lives at Pic de Bugarache in the town of Bugarache, and she makes a cacao that she blesses and does ceremony around, and then sells it for €4 for 4 servings. A little bitty package. Kind of cool how it's done, but she says she gets ceremonial cacao. So, it is happening all over the world.
It is for sure. And when I think about like what differentiates us, it's our love, it's our connection, it's the way we process it, it's the way we keep the fats retained, and then also like every community has a different essence, right? And from that essence, it creates different reasons why people want to be there. Like for example, this year we're going to be doing a Diwali celebration. And this Diwali celebration is going to be in Austin, Texas, inside of Casa de Luz. It's an overnight celebration, and we're going to be working through the lens of wiggling our way out of the dualistic ways and into the quantum ways of seeing the color of the light. And so we're going to find safety. We're going to cleanse our bodies. We're going to have a cowboy pool, a sauna, an ice bath. We're going to have a dance floor. We're going to have a cuddle puddle. We're going to have an elixir bar. We're going to activate this place in a space where it's like a Shangri-La, where it's our new way of sort of cleansing the old ways of feeling uncomfortable and finding comfort with each other, and just finding that love and that innocence and tapping back into that. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, that's November 1st.
It's actually October 31st until November 1st.
Aha! Good to know.
If you're not in Austin and you want to come, you still can come visit.
Yeah, that might be. People come to Austin all the time for South by Southwest and all of this stuff. But, wherever you're at, you might want to come and get in touch with the Third Eye Lounge, find out the information, book a hotel room, or
You
find
don't even
someplace
need
to stay.
come stay with us. Just bring yourself.
Yeah, stay all night, fly in, Diwali, then fly out.
There you go.
Oh, yes, it's all possible.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
So we have a few minutes left. Anything new that you see in consciousness and holistic lifestyle that you find that's intriguing you these days?
Yeah, totally. What's been coming to me and what I've been seeing a lot more of is somatic breath work. A lot more people are realizing that you cannot work with uh, meditation or yoga from a masculine lens. You need to be able to slow down in order for one to speed up. And it's becoming very popular. Now, also something that modality that I've learned is the triple vagal method, which is teaching people how to become vagal toned and to become safe and learning how to co-regulate. So once you feel and remove some of the parts of our bodies that are blocked, you actually learn how to regulate with yourself, develop a secure attachment, and all of a sudden all this vitality comes into your body. So I think right now there's a change happening with the yoga industry, the healing industry, the wellness industry, from just being allopathic and very strict with the methods, but finding the softness, finding that somatic. And I think that's super important. That's what Third Eye actually brings to the awesome community is that layer of of the Vedas that teach you, the tantra, the mantra, the yantra, the sound, the voice, the body, and integrating all those things. It's not just we're going to yoga. We're doing sound healing. It's more so the nuance and the communities coming together in such a beautiful way where we get to integrate and go through different forms of consciousness and evolution where we get to be seen and held in different ways. And I think that's super important when creating a culture and learning from it.
This is really an interesting comparison because here I am in Southwest France and I'm going to all of these power spots. Right now, I'm right in the middle of a tour with, 7 delightful women. And we're going to these ancient stone sites, menhirs, dolmens, a rock spiral, the chair of Isis, and others, ancient places. So, we put our hands on these and we start to chant, or to do ohms and things like that. But what I was seeing is that you start to change your frequency and you pay attention to something, you pay attention to what gets activated in your own body, where it be like today it was activating the amygdala. Another time when I was doing a real guttural sound, I felt my whole fascia turn on. And I brought that into the site itself. I connected it with my group, and all of a sudden we're getting these bigger activations because we are activating specific parts of our body through our voice and magnifying it. It's just been really cool. Just another application. And whereas I see the Americans do not have all of these power spots. Well, they do have some power spots, but not nearly where I'm at. But they're inventing it in a totally different way. It's very powerful. And people ask me that, well, what's more powerful, France or Austin, Texas? And I have to say, they're close to the same. They're just very different. It's the people that make it happen in Austin. Sacred sites in France.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's important that we go back and forth, especially, there'll be a time and place where I'll be going back and forth to the jungle more. And, there's different times and spaces where we need to spend time and spaces, different places. You're going to be here back at certain points, building and helping community, also go to France, and so it's always this dynamic. The world is always creating energy to move and create culture and connection. And that is humanity doing its thing.
It is. And so, everybody, you're talking and listening to Neil Ryan Dumra of Neil, and that's Neil, Ryan, Ryan, Dumra, Dumra, neilryandumra.com. And you had this great book uh, on cacao. Tell me the name of that again.
Cacao will show you how.
Cacao will show you how. Cacao will show
Bunch
you
of amazing tools, rituals, ways to have your own personal ceremony or share ceremony with others. It also has recipes on how to make brownies and beautiful treats with cacao. Also recipes on how to make drinks. And then also why and how we source in our method. And I also teach about the different tantra, the alchemical integration methods where you can use to do through shadow work and working on becoming more stronger with your being. So different tools in there too.
And I want to just do a shout out because you co-authored this with Margaret Fontenot, who is a cook, chef supreme, who's made all of these cacao recipes and have added those into the book. So you can really learn how to make some really delicious stuff as this woman can cook it, basically. So we want to give a shout out to Margaret Fontenot out there. Thank you, Margaret, for being all you are. And I want you to think about one last message you'd like to give everybody, because we got about 2 minutes left on the show. And while you think about that, I'm going to tell everybody you're listening to Becoming Quantum Conscious. My name is Bart Sharp, and you're listening to Neil Ryan Dumra at neilryandumra.com. And this is United Public Radio and UFO Paranormal Radio at 107.7 and 105.3 out of New Orleans, Louisiana. And next week we're going to have Penny Loftus, and we are going to be talking about sound activations in the cutting edge of her wild and inventive world and sound activations, which all I can say is the woman is out there doing things that I don't see anybody else doing. So what final message you have for us, Neil?
I say, if regardless of what you drink and what you do, if you can, with your intuition, with your intention, decide to open up your heart, whatever way you decide to do it, You know, when cacao does come into your life, just by you deciding to open up your heart, it'll also enhance different aspects of your life. So, with that message, I say, open up your heart, get outside, find nature, find community, find connection. It's important. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Neil, and everybody. Check out some cacao, ceremonial grade cacao, preferably. ThirdEyeLounge.com.
ThirdEyeCacao.com.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you all next week.
Yeah.